And I read this a long time ago when I was younger, that people write to understand what they don't know. All right, I'm going to tell it all, and it's ugly, but it has meaning to it. And the end result is you can be a better human, but you have to get past trauma. Trauma, you have got to figure it out, because you will never, ever get rid of it. That's the one thing we have to remember. Don't carry it. Like, try and find a way, because you lose a lot of years. You know, I lived a great life, but I didn't live it full. And this is a guilt I carry.
Mm-hmm.
I just look up and I see this guy that killed my girlfriend, and that was it. I don't even remember the anger. It was so fierce, and the attack on this guy was fierce. I was going to kill this guy, but I know I'm in trouble. I should have done that. As grief has a way of just kicking you, and it has no sensitivity to the time it'll do it. Use your trauma as a gravitational slingshot to propel you through the pain of your past and into your future.
All right, welcome back, Wellness Ninjas, to another episode of the Wellness Dojo Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Craik, and today I'm excited to have my guest, Dale Galbraith, here. Dale, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Great pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And I've been reading your book. It's incredible. We've got it here. Brought it with me.
Let's advertise it a bit, Kyle.
Yeah,
Come on, put it out there.
The Man Who Watered His Lawn.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's such a beautiful, the way that I've been describing it in my head, it's a tragic love story, but it's what I've really taken away from it through reading it so far has been, you know, it's just this beautiful combination of like the beauty of life and the suffering in life.
Yeah, well put. It's kind of the, I'll tag onto that one because it is the emphasis that I'm trying to portray in that, right? I'll go right into it. I started it really as a love story because I had not paid tribute to that girl that I fell in love with and was going to marry. And all those years later, I'm now in my 60s. It took me into my 50s to understand the damage that losing her did to me and does to many people who have suffered trauma like that. So over the time, that built up, and I just couldn't get past that sorrow and grief. And through therapy and through the prompting of my family, which was not going well at the time, you know, you have to realize how you can try and push past that. Mm-hmm. So writing the book became cathartic. It was a love story that then turned into a full story about a person's feelings, my feelings about an individual that I love dearly and really couldn't get rid of in my head. And the agony and the sorrow and the grief of carrying a burden of holding a person while she's dying in the middle of the night, you know, what I call murder, and then carrying that for over right around 50 years. Yeah. And the idea that it just isn't going away. Those reoccurring dreams, those reoccurring nightmares overtook the idea of love. Mm-hmm. You talk about the joy of that, and that's a beautiful thing, having joy and such a love. But then over time, the accumulation of the trauma and the emotional difficulties that brings began to overshadow the joy and love that I'd carried for that person. Yeah. And then you bury it, and then you go through life. You have kids, you get married, you do all the things that you're supposed to do. So that book became my release. It became an idea. I need to get that out of my head, and I need to say what I felt, because the odd thing about the book and about writing and about carrying trauma is, as a man, I never once spoke of that night, ever, to nobody for 50 years until my wife beat it out of me and said, "You've got to figure this out." And that's just a travesty for anybody to carry trauma that long. Yeah. And we just, as men, carry on. You know, we want to beat through it and say, I'm going to just carry on. And so now it becomes a defense mechanism. You start designing your life the way you to actually absorb the trauma, keep it inside you, and then get past it. Mm-hmm. So the next day can be lived, whatever that may be. So right in the story, started a love story. And as you've read, it started to morph into something different. And what I realized really strongly through that whole process was writing is cathartic. And I read this a long time ago when I was younger, that people write to understand what they don't know, the good people, the people that want to know life. So as I wrote through that, there was a lot of times when I said, why am I writing that? What does that mean to me? So exploring that all the way through. And it just really became an idea that I can tell this story. I hope I tell it well. I want to give the proper amount of privilege to that person, Lorette, that I loved. And I wanted it to be a love story, but I also wanted it to be a gut punch, that people lose people. And it's really hard to lose people, man, women, or child. When you lose somebody, it affects you. And then when you lose someone at 17, we don't have the maturity, the neurological maturity to cope with it. It's impossible. We're just not in life enough to understand how that affects you. Yeah. And go back to the 70s when that happened. Nobody talks about it anyway. So it became an idea that if I'm going to tell that story and tell that love story, I have to tell what it did to me. I have to tell the damage that losing that person did in such a terrible way. Yeah. So that morphed into the idea that, wow, okay, I better say it. And I'm not kind to myself, as you probably read in there. I was not the person I should be. And so it evolved into that. All right, I'm going to tell it all, and it's ugly, and but it has meaning to it. And the end result is you can be a better human, but you have to get past trauma. Trauma, you have got to figure it out, because you will never, ever get rid of it. What will happen to you, though, is you will learn to live with it and to progress past the pain so that you use it to be a better person. You use that trauma, post-trauma growth we talked about, to actually enhance your life. And so it evolved into that book, The Man Who Watered His Lawn. Yeah. And I'm proud and honored that you read it. I really am.
Yeah, well, I'm honored to have read it. And I want to get into the story a little bit. But before we do, I'm curious, did you start writing as just like a therapeutic tool to like, I just want to kind of express this and get this out, and then it turned into the book? Or did you always have the intention of it becoming a book that you would publish?
I can give detail on that.
Yeah.
And so many years ago, because I tried to get through this on my own many times. I started and stopped and started because the pain was too much. So I went, well, maybe I can do this for myself. Maybe I can do that for myself. And during that process, growing up, I wanted to have business. I wanted to have a life. I wanted to all these things. And so I tried really hard to do all the things we're supposed to do as, I'm going to say men, but as humans. I was positive. I tried to enhance my life with all kinds of programs that made me better, made me understand myself, made me understand the world. Maybe Tony Robbins, maybe all of these gurus that, hey, you can help yourself by doing these certain things. I had a lot of energy. I worked out. I was a bodybuilder. I competed. You know all about that, how that enhances your life. I did the right things. I ate, for the most part, fairly well. Nutrition was good in there. But still, every night was nightmare. I would wake up soaking wet, crying, sobbing. You don't understand how it triggers you over time. So I kept doing that. And then I was in between relationships. I was kind of on my own. I had a child at that time, and I was sitting in a coffee shop in Calgary. And I overheard a conversation. I write that in the book, of these people that were talking. And you don't like to eavesdrop, but it captures you when you hear something and go, oh, what is that about, right? And they were talking about writing. The one person was talking to the other person, they were females, about how she felt so cathartic writing about her problems. She was writing it down. And I just overheard these things that psychologists say, writing about your trauma helps you through it. So I started to write. And what I didn't realize is that the damage it does when you do start to write, because now the truth comes out, and it's pretty devastating at times. So I started, and I couldn't get through it. I just couldn't write. I couldn't say her name. I couldn't write her name. I couldn't think about that night, so I just put it aside. And as I got older, the damage became more and more and more. And so finally I ended up in therapy with my family and realized it's me. I got a big problem, and I got to figure it out, or I'm not going to have a family. Then having the psychologist and talking through that, hey, have you thought about writing it? And I recalled that I wrote all this stuff way, way back. And I found, because I journal a lot, I have it all the time. And I found that darn stuff that I'd written there. And I thought, there's the starting point. And so it wasn't intentional to do that. start off to write a book. It was just intentional to say, why am I feeling this way? Why? And I found that, and I found out how I could start to adjust and put my thoughts down more succinctly on paper. And then I figured, well, I'll just write a love story. and the love letter is in there. Mm-hmm. Simple, maybe 3 or 4 pages. And that took me forever to write. It just crushed me to write that. And so I thought, it's just not good enough. Who cares, right? That's just for me. But what if I want to help somebody that's been through this before and help myself more? So that I said, well, I'm going to write a book. What are you going to call it? I'm going to call it The Man Who Watered His Lawn. Why? I had to think, why would that be? And so it's a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
And I've carried that through from that point.
Oh, that's beautiful. And we've talked about this before. I'm also a big believer that, your struggle can become somebody's roadmap. Your words are the exact shape of somebody's wound that's out there.
Nice.
And so kudos to you for doing the work, because as you said, it's not easy. It's not easy to start putting it out there, even if it's just on a piece of paper or typing it out. And it's hard to relive those moments. And just reading the book and hearing the story, I can only imagine how difficult that must have been.
Gut-wrenching, because for a long time, like I had mentioned, I grew up in a small town. This happened in a small town. It's small. It's bigger now, but it was small back then. We all know each other. And I'm a teenager. And I'm going to be married to this teenager that I love. Mm-hmm. We're going to be graduating. We're going to go off. My life was set. I had never been more focused on what I was going to do in my life when I met this woman, this little girl at 15. So we had 2.5 years together. And both of us were getting married. We're going to move out of that city. We're going to grow our life. We had it like it was said. I had no doubt in my mind I was going to marry her, similar to her, me. When you're that focused and you're that determined and you have that in your head, and your life is pretty good. My family was a good family, big family. Hers was a good big family, 9 children. Catholics, all that synergies that we had together. Small town, great town to grow up in. My parents were reasonably well off. Everybody there was good. We had good core people. You grow up, that's how my life's going to be. And it's going to go in that direction. I'm going to have children, I'm going to get married. And then it's not. Mm-hmm. Then it's done. And so the confusion at 17 and a half years old, going through that, is horrific. And you balance your life out for the rest of your life, trying to figure out, why am I so confused about these feelings that I have? I have such emotion, such good feelings here, and then I've got this sorrow and sadness over here, and you juxtapose those. It's really difficult to balance yourself through it.
Yeah.
I've lost my train of thought. I can't remember what the question was.
No, it's great. It's great. You answered it. I want to get into the story a little bit, if we can.
Sure.
For people who haven't read the story, can you just describe a little bit of what actually happened? Yeah. So, as I mentioned, we're young people. We met at a bonfire and just fell in love instantly then. And great to fall in love at any age, but as a young kid, it's the world is your oyster. It's crazy to be in love. Especially first love.
Especially first love, because they're all the first, right? It's a good point. Well put, right? And I write about it in there. Everything's the first. So you can't duplicate that. You can fall in love again, but you can't duplicate that. You're the first with that person to fall in love, but the first kiss, the first sexual encounter, all everything there is heightened because you're young. And your life is going to be like that. So we met at a we call them bonfire parties back then in small towns. If people don't know what small towns are like, that's all you did. You went out to these parties because there's not much else to do in a small town. Cities are much different. So it's where you had a lot of fun. You do your thing. So yeah, we fell in love there, spent our lives, intertwined with each other. And all was good. I played hockey, junior hockey, and as everybody does in the small town. And so the interesting part about the story is how everything kind of comes together in a common area. And this happened at the hockey arena, just out on the road outside the hockey arena. Long story short, 2 people at the same time as we're enjoying our lives and going to be leaving the arena, 2 people found themselves in a bar for the whole afternoon drinking profusely. Both of those idiots decided to get in a vehicle, separate vehicles, and basically speed and race down the corridor where the arena sits. At the same time, I'm in my vehicle, and my then girlfriend is in another vehicle because she wants to practice driving. She's going to get her driver license. And I'm behind her. She pulls out into the main intersection, and within seconds, those two trucks, they were trucks, going at speeds of 100 miles an hour, came through that intersection and crashed into her vehicle, split her vehicle in two. My sister was in that vehicle with her, and when the dust finally settled and we were able to get out of my car, then you just basically you're confronted with chaos. From that moment on, your body changes profusely. It's panic. And not to dive too deep into it, finally I find my sister's there. I'm not sure she's dead or alive, but her boyfriend's not with her. I go to look for my girlfriend, my fiancée. She's off in the distance a couple hundred feet because it impacted throwing her away from there. And by the time I reach her, she dies. And, that's it. Your life is done. At least in your head is done. There's just too much. It's just overwhelming at that time. So when we talk about neuroscience and we talk about neurobiology, well, at 17 years old, for that to happen, the stress and the trauma just lives in you. It just invades your body. And the rest of the book really is about paying tribute to her from that point. But it takes the reader on the journey of that love into what is the tragedy. And I call it murder. I don't want to sugarcoat that. People who drink and drive, they're murderers when they kill someone. You might as well take a handgun, a Colt 6-shooter, put a bullet in there, spin the chamber, walk out on the street and pull the trigger. That's how pissed off I am about that. Mm-hmm. And still to this day. And those people walked away with basically nothing, right? Both of them killed that woman. And they got no jail sentence. They got nothing done to them. And I spent, along with other people, about 15, 16 months of time in a courtroom going through that to just have them say, well, you got a suspended license for a year. So that's another story. Mm-hmm. That's a whole different conversation, but that's the degree of hurt you feel because you're reliving it. I had to come back. I had left town then. I had to come back about 6 times from the place I was sent to protect myself. And anyway, it just adds to that agony about it. So the book takes you through that, and then it starts to really be harsh on the idea of trauma. How do you live through trauma? Because I didn't want to write the book and end it to say, I love this person, we buried her, and life goes on. Mm-hmm. Because that's an injustice to people who suffer, right? It hurts, and it hurts bad, and it hurts for a long, long time. And if you're fortunate to get help early, great. I think your life can be a bit better. In those years, we didn't have that, so I carried it way too long, and it's my own fault. I should have tried to reach out earlier. But the one thing I can say to everybody who would carry trauma is it never leaves you. You just basically learn to adjust to the degree of trauma, and you use that trauma to be a better person. And you can get past it, but you don't leave it. Mm-hmm. You just learn to be better, and you learn to use it to your advantage over time. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
But if you don't rewire that neuro body balance, biology, that's the one thing I learned in spades, and we'll talk about that at some point. But the book takes you through that, and it takes the reader through the journey that I went on to kind of recover now to where I'm way better than I was, and I can live with that now, and I can be a much better person. And I'm disappointed in all those years that I suffered. That's the one thing we have to remember. Don't carry it. Try and find a way, because you lose a lot of years. I lived a great life, but I didn't live it fully. Mm-hmm. Because of that, because you're just backed up all the time on it. You're too confused. So the book takes you through that. It takes you through the idea of this is what I felt. This is what I know happened to me. And this is how I know I got through it to the best I could, right? It's a defense. What happens is you just become defensive. You just become the person that says, I can defend myself against the trauma until tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get to bed, and I'm going to make it through the day, and then I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and I'll figure out a way to do it again. It's all defensive. That's all it is. It's survival. And you have to learn to get past that survival. So what I try to say in the book and write in the book is this is how I learned to do it, and eventually how I did it. And the book takes the person through that, the reader through that, so that at the end, they know all the warts. It's crazy, and it'll wreck your life.
Yeah.
and it nearly did mine completely. So I have a wreck over here, and then I have a wreck over here of my own doing because I didn't take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate that in the book too, that you don't sugarcoat the impact that event had on you, even days following, right? Even in that moment, you can tell through the writing that it takes over something in your body, right? You don't become your logical self anymore in those moments.
Good way to put it.
You know, even a couple days later, you see this man.
Right.
Like,
okay. So you're going to go there. Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
Yeah.
Because anger, even the night that Lorette was murdered, and I know, and this is a guilt I carry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding that person I love. I know she's dead. I don't want her to ever go anywhere. I don't. I would have stayed there my whole life. But then these idiots, these murderers, one of them comes over and starts berating me because I'm broken down here. And you could smell the alcohol in this guy from 10 feet away. And I snapped. I couldn't hold my anger back. And I attacked him. While I was doing that, then the police had showed up and they took Lorette, put her in a police vehicle and got her to the hospital. As I'm doing that stupid thing with this stupid idiot, and then people finally shake me out of it, like, Lorette's gone, you got to get out of here, right? Because by that time people had come around. Mm-hmm. So, the anger carried over. So now you have all the emotions. This is emotions of trauma and PTSD as we now know it. But you have a young kid at 17 and a half. I was big for my age. I was powerful for my age. And I was angry. And I knew who killed that. My girlfriend, I knew who killed her, and I was going to find that guy. And I did find him. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good for him.
Mm-hmm. And like by accident too, which is the crazy thing.
Well, yeah, thank you. You read that. I mean, good on you. Yeah, here's the odd thing. And this is where anger is crazy. That kind of anger. So we are in my vehicle. I can't stay in that house any longer. I'm just suffocating. I'm dying in that house, my parents' home. Everybody's trying to be good and not trying to, be too, what would you call it? They're just trying to comfort me. Mm-hmm. But it's suffocating. And so I have now no school to go to. I have no girlfriend to go to. I don't even see her family. I have my family there, but I'm just feeling the walls are crushing in on me. So I got to get out of here. Mom, I'm going to go for a drive. I call one of my friends. Duke, I'm coming over, let's just, I got to do something. Yeah, come on over. So he drives. We end up driving around for most of the day. Come evening time, as you're pointing to, we pull into, it's called the Athabasca Hotel in this small town. And Duke, the guy I'm with, he's a smoker, so he wants to go in and get a pack of smokes. We park right in front. He goes in, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, just dazed, not really on medication because the doctor put me on medication, but I just look up and I see this guy, the guy that killed my girlfriend. He's on the payphone in the lobby, and I can see him clear as day. It's like I have X-ray vision or something. I see him, and that was it. I don't even remember the anger. It was so fierce, and the attack on this guy was fierce. I was going to kill this guy. And had the manager of that building, who knows me really well, hadn't he a bigger guy, hadn't he jumped me and basically choked me out and knocked me unconscious, I think I would have succeeded in doing that. So let's pull those two threads together, right? Because I've lost somebody, and now I'm going to kill someone, and that's going to be worse for me than anything that could ever happen to anybody else. Because now my family, I'll be in jail, obviously. Mm-hmm. So it's just the stupidity of what happens to you. But at 17 and a half, rage is crazy.
I think at any age too.
Maybe.
Right?
You lose your child.
You go through something like that.
Yeah.
The emotions during those intense times, they have this way of taking over you. Right. And how do you even train for something like that I talk a lot about even just the flipping the lid with kids and stuff like that, and how one sibling will hit another sibling, right, and they're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that because now I got in trouble. that's one level of it that you can really train that. But when you've experienced something so traumatic, so life altering, the emotions, I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I mean, in your martial arts, you know how to inflict pain on someone, right? Controlled pain, maybe defensive pain as well. But when you're filled with rage, and it happens like that because hormones are crazy, and rage is rage, and you know, I sympathize for people who go into rage because of something that they can't control. To a certain degree, I sympathize that. Not devastating for other people, but if something happens to you and it's caused by you or someone else, and it's really problematic, and nobody seems to care or do anything about it, the justice system as an example. Yeah, so the rage is there, and that was, and again, it passed that. So let's just go a bit further on that because we can extrapolate that farther along. Now I've done it. Police are on their way there because everybody's called the cops. And this guy's in bad shape, and I don't care. But I know I'm in trouble. I should have done that. So we take off. And, you know, we sit a while, and we're like, shit, dude, you're in trouble. You better, what am I going to do? I can't go home, or I better go home. What's going to happen? Anyway, I end up figuring out I should go home, but the cops are waiting. So long story short, I end up in jail. And through the grace of God, or whatever you want to call it, this is where community, your community that you build in the Dojo Wellness, these people that you look after and protect, they have a place of safety for them. Thankfully, in this small town, everybody knows everyone, and they love everybody. And the police love you, even though they're police. So just by that grace, you know, look, we're going to my parents, we're going to keep your kid here in jail. But you better realize that this guy presses charges. It ain't going to go well for your kid. He's going to jail. So they did their best to persuade this person who had killed my fiancée to not press charges against me. And he didn't. And so I got to get out of that. I got my get out of jail free card. And I learned quickly, my parents, is that what you really want to do? Because now you're doing a disservice to Lorette. You're going to kill somebody while she's going to be buried. And you won't even be able to go to the funeral because you'll be in jail. Like, how stupid are you? Get your shit together. It's that kind of conversation. But all of those people had my best interest, the police in particular. And so I'm thankful for that all the way through. Because I thought about him many times after that, as most people would. I don't want this person to live. He took a life. His life should be gone.
Yeah.
And so, that part.
It is. It's this beautiful thing of like compassion is everywhere.
Right.
I think. Right. And that's something that when I was reading that, I felt that where it's like, yeah, that's that small town feeling. But I think even in a big city,
sure,
it's there.
Yeah.
Right. Agree. It's there. People want to help and stuff like that. And people do have, the more we have understanding around a situation, the more growth there is, the more everybody is better off. Right?
Agreed. You get, if you go back to that time period, it's no one's fault, but there just wasn't the recognition about mental health, right? Yeah. That someone could go through a tragedy like that and have it not affect them. It's impossible. Yeah. And it's super interesting too in the book because you describe the aftermath following that, and I want to get to like kind of how you got to this point today as well, and some of the tools that you've developed. But yeah, like you guys didn't talk about it. Yeah. Like your family didn't talk about it. Right? There was obviously like a disconnect that now came between Lorette's family and you. Yeah. Just really interesting how something like that changes an entire dynamic. Right. Yeah. Well put. And really an important kind of aspect of trauma, whereby if you disconnect from all of that, it makes the trauma far worse. So it could be self-imposed. I did my own self-imposing. Yep. We talk about Lorette's family, right? 9 children in that family. French-Canadian. Crazy, beautiful family. Just a joy to be around. Extraordinary happiness. All the time. But then you're in the hospital, and your sister, not certain at that time if my sister's alive or dead. She didn't look alive when I had found her. And so Lorette's dead. I know that for sure. And now we're back at the hospital. And during that time period, Lorette's father comes in because he's not been notified. And so Maurice is his name. A great, great guy. And now he's there. And he doesn't know what the hell's going on. I don't know how to tell this guy. They're telling him, but I'm standing beside him and I see, he's just not taking this in. It's not going well for him. Then he has to go, as you always do, you have to identify the body. It's just part of the whole process. It's cruel, in my view, but it has to be done because they have to put that to bed, right? Is this your daughter? So we go, I talk about it in the book. It's one of the more painful passages I write in that book. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but basically sitting in a morgue in a small town and having the person you love, that we're going to be the rest of your life, gone. You're saying whatever goodbyes you can say, but her father is there at the same time. And that adds to the trauma because you feel that responsibility. Now he's doing that. I mean, it's inconceivable. At 17, you have to look at that. It's so tragic. So it kind of doubles on that. Holy mackerel, this sorrow is just, it's going to crush you. And he has to go back and tell his family. And he has to drive through the same roadway that killed his daughter and see the carnage there. There's no other way to get to the hospital. That's it. And that didn't occur to me till I wrote that passage. So that I thought, shit, he had to go home. Wow. He had to go right past that. I never thought about it till that time I wrote that. Yeah. And so, and then every time you would be around that family, we ran into each other, but totally secluded myself from it because I couldn't take the loss.
Yeah,
I lost them.
It's like almost like a trigger when you see them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Those are, we'll talk about those things, but yeah, those triggers, man. Wow. Yeah. You gotta watch them.
Yeah. So let's get into that a little bit. What are some of the, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, like what are some of the lessons that this tragic experience taught you, and just having to deal with the trauma and getting to a point where you are today, where you are living life, and you seem so much better off now. Obviously, it's always with you, but can we talk a little bit about how we got from point A to point B?
Appreciate that. Yeah, that's the hard part, and always the part that everybody has to find their own journey on, right? It takes time and effort, commitment, and all the stuff that we all know that it takes to build a life. And so there's two major things that I discovered through that portion. One is get help. Well, actually three. First one is you got to get help. It is impossible as a man, because we're stubborn and stupid at times. It's literally impossible to not have help in doing it. And my help was my family, of course, my wife. It was, and then it becomes a self-imposed, if you don't do this, we are not going to make it. We won't survive as a family, right? So you got to choose on that one. That's your dividing line. You got to do that. So I chose that. And then it's okay, how can I get help? And again, I'm so useless as a guy. If my wife had not figured out, okay, well, you're going to this psychologist, that's where you're going to start. If she hadn't done that, I don't even know if I could have done that. It's so pathetic. But she did, and we went in there, and it was basically family at first, but then it became really clear, you're the problem, and this behavior can't happen anymore. Why is it? So once you start peeling that back, then the psychologist was able to sort of help me say, this is a treatment that's going to help you. It's cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. Very common now. It's really common with PTSD. Hadn't even heard of that before in my life. So, well, okay, that sounds interesting. What is that all about? But so that's the first step, understanding that. The second really important step, I have to emphasize that to everybody, because trauma is a trigger. It's a neurobiological trigger. It upsets the neurons in your body to the degree that the body controls the mind over time. So when you're in a stressful situation, your body automatically goes back to that time when it had to protect you. and it sends out all the cortisol, it sends out all the adrenaline, everything else when something happens. So you're overstimulated by this trauma that happened years and years and for me decades ago, but it's like yesterday. It just overloads you, and so it keeps controlling you because now you're in defense mechanism. Oh, this is how I need to stop that. And so you don't understand that you have to align the neurons biologically with the mind, and you have to get rid of those old memories and put in new ones. So you have to adjust, and when these triggers happen, you have to stop immediately, and you have to realign them with new visions of what you're going to do. I'm not articulating it well, but the idea is that you're always overstimulated with this trauma that happened, and until you can align the neurons back to positive memories, to future forward memories, you will never get rid of it. Yeah. It'll always control you. So the body controls the mind's not controlling the body, and you have to get back to the mind controlling the body.
And how did you start to do that?
Therapy helped. Writing really helped. Understanding the triggers really helped. Always, one of the things is always be forward thinking and not backward thinking. So don't always go back into your past. It's easy to carry sorrow with you. It just, of all the emotions, of the 27 emotions, I think it is, sorrow and grief are the longest lasting. They're the most devastating. It makes sense. It's why movies have sorrow in it, because it captures you. But they're the hardest to get rid of. They take the longest. You have to rewire them. So, as an example, if I would have nightmares a lot, and they just crush you. Or grief has a way of just kicking you, and it has no sensitivity to the time it'll do it. It could be when your baby's born. It could be your baby's birthday. It could be a kid's birthday. It could be a wedding. It could be a death. It could be anything. It will hit you, and there's no trigger for that necessarily. There's no reason for it. It'll just happen. I never figured it out. Most people I talk to can't figure it out. There's no rhyme or reason for it. Suddenly you're on the side of a road weeping because this thing built up in you. And the body now is sending out all these past emotions. And when that starts to happen, you have to then realign yourself, re-trigger yourself, and basically meditation will help you. And you've got to just completely say, that is not going to happen again. I have to put it into a positive memory. So continuing to do that. I took therapy for a while, and then I did meditation, and I did a really harsh meditation by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And that book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, I recommend it to anyone who has struggles in the mind with trauma, because it really puts it into a scientific understanding of how you have to rewire that.
Yeah.
And those neurons have to be rewired, and they can be. And just over time you start doing that. But he has almost an hour meditation, and I did that for 70 days straight every morning, and it killed me. It was so hard because it brings the memory from the past. CBT will do this to you as well. The psychologist will go through it. I just didn't have time to go every day to a psychologist. Mm-hmm. So I did this meditation, and man, oh man, it just crushes you because it brings some visual of that night, whatever the trauma may be. Yeah. It could be anything, and I'm not saying my trauma is the only trauma, but it's what I live. So I would go back, you revisit it, then you got to rewire that, and constantly do it.
One of the things that I've heard that has always really stuck with me is that we try so hard to eliminate the trauma from our lives. Right? We want to get rid of it. We don't want it to be there anymore. But as you alluded to earlier, it's always going to be with you. And the goal should never be to eliminate it, because it's a part of you. It's a part of your story. It always will be. But the goal is really to understand it, whether it's trauma or triggers or demons or whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. The goal is to understand it more, to say, like, I see you, I acknowledge you, and like, I want to understand you more so that I can understand myself.
Well put. Very well put. I couldn't have said it better. So we'll take that a step further and say, if we use that as the jump off point, right? It's always going to be there. Mm-hmm. It's the idea that it doesn't control you anymore. And that's what I had to understand. I felt like most men do, that we just power through it and I'll get back to being what I was. Well, what you was not good.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be what you was or what you were.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be the new version of that. Trauma prevents you from doing that because you're always you talked about masculine, you're always in defense mode. Always. There's never a day you're not. Because you live that for decades. It's a part of your life now. You can't function any other way.
Yeah, and I think those masks come from a fear of the trauma, right? You're afraid of it. You don't want to feel it again. You don't want that trigger to come up.
100%.
When you start to understand it more and you get to know it a little bit,
bring it on.
It's like a person,
bring
right?
it on.
A person you're afraid of. When you get to know them a little bit more, you start to understand them a little bit more.
Good for
you. It's
you.
like, okay, I'm not so scared of you anymore. I see you. You're here. I don't like it, but I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
I can handle you.
Yeah. Well done. I mean, that's perfect, right? I'll use it in the next one.
Yeah.
But the idea of that, and let's talk about post-traumatic growth, because I discovered post-traumatic growth scientifically as I started to write about things, and I stumbled on it as well. And post-traumatic growth talks about the idea that you've suffered severe trauma, but in a lot of people, that severe trauma elevates them to a different level of being, right? We don't want to get into that too much, but the idea is that why, in my own case, how come I can, first of all, that love I had was extraordinary. So I knew that. I knew it'd be hard to capture that love again because of all the firsts. But I loved this girl, and she loved me, and we had a great life. We lived life like flat out to the fullest, even as kids, right?
Yep.
So I got used to that. It's in my nature anyway, but I got used to that. So the idea that you could lose all of that, but still find a sunrise, remarkable. Still find a flower, remarkable. Still find the idea that I'm alive, and as a human, this is fantastic. But then go home and at night, just have utter destruction from the remembrance of that time, the sorrow, the grief, the disappointment, the confusion, that juxtaposition, how you go in there. So after that, I just felt a heightened sense of belonging in the world, but then I didn't want to be there. I wanted to disappear. I didn't want to kill myself, but I wanted to disappear because I couldn't take it. I couldn't take the sorrow for so long. And this idea that how in the hell do you live through that? How do you keep going with that? It's so confusing. Yeah. That's what started to make itself and manifest itself out there to where we're saying, okay, I have a saying in the second book I have, which is use your trauma as a gravitational slingshot to propel you past through the pain of your past and into your future. And that's exactly what you have to do. You have to take that trauma, live with it, understand it, deal with it, know that it's never going to go away. It's there, but honor it. And don't let it'll never control my life again, ever. Thankfully.
Yeah. I think I see that in small areas of life too, where for example, the example of love and relationships, like we've talked about this, like I've been divorced,
right.
I've, been in other relationships since then. And I think what I see in people a lot, and I've seen it in myself as well, is we so badly want to recreate what was in a lot of ways, like, or we fear that it won't feel the same.
Right.
And I think what I've learned through my journey is that it's not supposed to ever feel the same, because it's like you had something unique with that person or that experience or that community even, or that organization, and then you go to another one and there's this fear or this doubt that, like, what if I never feel that again? What if it's never the same? Well, it's not supposed to be the same.
Right.
Create something new, create something different, and hold that with you still.
Yeah, well put. The idea that we can talk about this a little bit, because I write about it in the second book, memories, right? Having moments. Because our life is built, our book of life is built on moments. They're really important to have. Moments of tragedy are as important to have as moments of love. I didn't buy into that for a long time, right? I read, trying to kind of understand that juxtaposition, I read a really great book by Oscar Wilde. It's called De Profundis, and it's written when he was in prison for, pretty heinous, back in those days, he was a homosexual, so I think it was sodomy, or I don't know what it was, but they put him in jail for a couple of years, and he wrote this 52-page love letter to the guy he was in love with, and destroyed his life essentially. But it is so profound, and it talks about how you can have sorrow, you can have the sorrow and have love at the same time, and have the beauty of both. I think he puts it in this way: to have the beauty of both of those means you're in touch with the universe. Mm-hmm. And that's profoundly true. You just mentioned it, right? How do you carry one thing and have another thing? Mm-hmm. They mean the same, and it just means that you're human. That you can now carry those two things together. That really helped me to understand I can carry a love that I really appreciated and still love another person, my current wife, who I love dearly.
It's like the separation of like life is happening against me and life is just, it's happening.
Right.
And it's happening for me even.
Yeah.
It's like I can hate things that life has given me and at the same time still love life.
Well, your point is life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Mm-hmm. Always. I mean, I would prefer never to have gone through that.
Yep.
But wow, did it make me observant of the world and of humanity and of the good and bad of people.
Yeah.
And I have never appreciated that necessarily, but I understood that I've been given that kind of I won't call it a gift, but I've been given that knowledge that at 17 most people will never get. Even at 50 they'll never get.
Yeah, I always say, because you always hear people, they're like, I'm grateful for the pain. I'm like, I'm not grateful for the pain, but I'm grateful for the fact that I'm here and I have the foresight and the tools and the awareness to make something of it.
Right. It's the lesson that you're going to get from that pain.
Which is a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. And it is a choice. You're exactly right. Well put there. We have decisions that we make in life. We have choices in life. You can choose to carry that sorrow with you and let it destroy your second life, or you can choose to get your act together and find a way to not let it do that.
Yep.
And so it took me a long time. And it's not that I didn't try. It's not that I didn't have a lot of successes, personally and otherwise. I did.
Yeah.
But until you get rid of the underlying of what that trauma is, you will never recover to the degree you need to.
Yeah. So true. I want to make sure we have time for this question. This is a question that my last guest left for you. They didn't know it was going to be you, but and then I'll give you the opportunity after we're done to write a question for my next guest.
Super.
The question that they left is, what is the best piece of life advice you have ever received?
Ever received? That's a good one, right? You'd have to look through a lot of people. Okay, I think actually, let's carry this forward, and it ties into the book a bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was advice at the time, but the title of the book, "The Man Who Watered His Lawn," I'll bring it back a little bit full circle. When I was a younger kid than 17, even during the time that I was with Lorette, we as little buggers would raid gardens in our neighborhood, right? And there was one particular garden we liked. It was a German fellow, him and his wife. How much time do I have to tell this? A couple of minutes?
You got a couple of minutes, yeah.
And so he was a good fellow, and I would go by his house a lot on my bike to and from school or whatever. And one day, he was out watering his lawn by hand. And so he kind of waved me over and we chatted a little bit. And I was always curious because he would stand out there a lot and wonder, why don't you just put one of those sprinklers on, right? And basically he just said, look, I do it because I really like that I can purposely water that plant and that flower and this and that because I feel that I'm contributing. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially. And he would say to me, just, pay attention to that. In his own way, he was trying to tell me to water your lawn in life. And it's a metaphor that stuck with me. And so when I was looking for a title, it just felt, because at the funeral, he talked to me in private at the funeral and mentioned the same thing. I won't go into it, but it was very profound and just, I didn't even know he knew the love I had for this person, but he did. So my answer would be, water your lawn. That's the most profound thing. Like, take that as you wish and use it. And I've tried to always be that, live life, water your lawn, pay attention to stuff.
That's beautiful.
Be intentional.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You're a beautiful person. You're a beautiful human. I appreciate you so much for coming on, being vulnerable about your story, sharing it in this amazing book. and we'll make sure that people have the link so they can go and check it out themselves.
Right,
I highly recommend it. It's such a powerful story, and I just want to thank you again for being here. This is so good.
Kyle, awesome. It's awesome to meet you. I've known you now for a little while. We've got a chance to talk to each other outside of this forum, and I look forward to many, many more months.
Likewise.
Following your life, following what you do, the Wellness Dojo. People don't forget that. You follow it. I mean, the stuff you do with kids, outstanding. Honest to God, outstanding. And the world needs more of that.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you.
Right on.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I appreciate everybody for listening and watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace, love.